Welcome back to another episode of the Fanatic Brackets. I am Nick, your host. With me, as always, is my co-host Joel.
Yo.
Today, in this episode, we are joined by none other than an independent wrestling star known as the Spiteful Brute. Please welcome Harleen Lopez. Harleen, how you doing?
How's it going, guys? I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited for this.
Same here, same here.
Let's get it.
You chose the topic of the greatest debut, specifically within
Mhm.
WWE AEW. Is there a reason that you chose this topic? And you don't have to get into the participants, but the reason for the topic that.
Right. I just think that like debuts are pretty freaking awesome, especially
Oh
in
yeah,
pro wrestling, because that's like the start of everyone's journey. Regardless if you know about them previously or like this is like the first time you're seeing them, this is like the beginning of whatever they're gonna show for their career. And it's the one thing that like inspires me in wrestling. It's like that one pop and that one like I just love it. I just love debuts. I love when they're really good, and this is the reason why I picked this topic really.
yeah, really, really leaves a mark on their careers. It's like the
Right.
pop that they get, the reaction from it, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of debuts on here that we still talk about to this day. So great
Mhm.
topic, great topic. So the rules for those who are listening or watching that have not seen an episode of this show before, the rules are as followed. We're each going to give our opinion, in this case, on who the better debut is. Whichever participant gets two or three votes between the three of us, obviously, we'll move on to the next round, all the way to the finals. It's an opinion-based show. There is no right or wrong answers. You could look at each participant, each matchup, however way you want it to. So there is no right or wrong way to do so. So let's just jump right into the bracket. Harleen, since you are our guest today, we're gonna start
Oh
off with
man.
you for the first matchup.
Ugh.
It's
Ooh.
tough, I know.
You already made it hard for me.
It's gonna happen a lot throughout this show. You're gonna
Right.
realize that eventually. We're gonna start with
Mhm.
Adam Cole's NXT debut at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3 in 2017, going up
Mhm.
against FTR's AEW debut in 2020. Harleen, in your opinion, who had the better debut?
Oh my God. Because here, I was watching live for both of these, and each reaction I feel like was like, yeah, at least for me, it was freaking like humongous. Especially Adam Cole. When he came out, that fucking crowd just like lost their shit. Like the fucking building came off the damn roof. I love FTR. I still think that FTR is like probably like the best tag team ever. But I'm gonna go with Adam Cole on this one, honestly, because it's just the fact that like I have more of experience to it. Like I watched the entire pay-per-view going into it, and my reaction was so genuine when it occurred that like it can't beat it.
That is true. Joel, who do you think had the better debut between these two? Were you
well,
there, Joel? I think you were there for NXT, right?
yeah, I was
That it
at
happened.
NXT for
Oh
the
yeah.
Adam Cole debut. That's. It might sound biased, but I have to go with Adam Cole just because of all the hype around it, and when it finally happened, it was like such a big moment. FTR,
Mhm.
love FTR, was a huge moment. It just sucks happened during COVID, so it kind of like that kind of takes away from it. But Adam Cole's debut was just phenomenal.
And I think
Mhm.
that moment, I'm going to go with Adam Cole as well, clean sweep on this one. But I do agree with
Thanks.
both of you. It's just that like Adam Cole's debut, you didn't expect him to come out
Mhm.
that because usually when they did, they showed the new signees in the crowd, they didn't do anything besides sit there and stare into the camera.
Yeah.
Right.
We
Right.
didn't expect them to come out like that during a show and attack somebody. So it was unexpected. That's the first thing. That was the
Mhm.
formation of the Undisputed Era too. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the pop that got, and again, it just sucked that FTR's debut in AEW was in front of nobody. Well, besides the wrestlers.
Yeah.
But it just sucked that if maybe it would have been different if FTR did have a crowd during that one. Maybe that would have been a complete shocker.
Yeah,
But
it might
and
be a different story.
exactly, exactly. So I think Adam Cole's slightly won by a slight bit. But again, it would have been a different story if FTR had a crowd. And plus,
Mhm.
his debut is probably one of the best in NXT history.
Oh, for sure.
So
Uh,
I gotta have to go with that one. Clean sweep for Adam Cole there. Now, second round also features Adam Cole. His debut in
Oh no.
AEW
oh my
from 2021 actually happened 2 years as of today, as we're recording this episode. Versus Taz's WWF Royal Rumble debut in 2000.
Mhm.
Joel, I'm gonna flip it
Damn
over
it,
to you this
Nick.
time. Put you on the spot. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Who has the better debut in your opinion between these two?
Okay. Damn, this was we actually talked about this before we were
Yeah.
recording. And I told
Yeah,
you
it's so hard for us, man.
this was one of the toughest ones on this list. Um, Love Taz, it was a big moment. Cole was also a big moment, but Taz was kind of everybody knew about, right? Everybody like kind of like already was hinting at it. There was signs, so people already kind of knew. Adam Cole was just on NXT TV, like he was just on NXT TV the week before, so
Yeah.
no one expected him
Mhm.
to come out. So when he surprised everyone and the way they did it with the lights cutting off, everybody thought it was Brian. Incredible. I gotta give the edge to Cole.
Okay. That's very good. Harleen, to you. Who
Oh
had the better
yeah.
debut between the both of these? Each round is
Okay,
tougher and tougher.
I'm gonna agree with the fact that like Adam Cole's debut for AEW was like humongous as well because like I would say like more so like on the internet people always make their little predictions and be like, oh,
Yeah,
like so and so just like finish their contract up, like who knows where they're gonna appear next and stuff like that, and that's cool and all, and I feel like that kind of diminishes debuts sometimes, surprises
Yeah.
sometimes. So in my head I'm like there's no way that he won't show up, maybe not this
got
debut
you.
but soon. So
Yeah,
that's why I feel like it was intense, it was incredible, but like a part of me was like, I think I kind of knew, and like a little bit. And for Taz, I love Taz. So I wasn't there, like obviously, like I wasn't like alive and like actually like registering anything
yeah,
when he came out. I wasn't watching that shit live, but I love Taz. Like I am, like I study his stuff and I inspire to be I am. And like that debut, I feel like was so great to the sense that like he came out and he showed who he is. He showed like what he can bring. Sure, he like had his like ECW run, but like that moment was like this is who he is. This is the suplex machine. And
yeah,
sure, I'm a shit on WWF for not like going off of that momentum and shit
yep,
like that. But
Yeah.
yep.
I'm gonna go a little old school, and I like even though I wasn't there for it, I'm gonna go with Taz for it
Ooh.
I
for this
respect
one.
it.
Now y'all are putting me in the tiebreaker here. Jeez.
Yeah, hot seat,
Um.
baby, hot seat.
Now I thought I wasn't gonna be in hot seat, but now I am. Well, I'm gonna choose Adam Cole's. The reason why I say Adam Cole is because recently biased for me. I wasn't around for Taz. I was technically around, but I wasn't watching wrestling then. So for Adam Cole specifically, he had two big debuts for two big companies. That's pretty sick.
Mhm.
So to me, I'm gonna have to give it to Adam Cole for that one because also to also have another participant in this bracket to also debut the same night, that was like an
Mhm.
unforgettable pay per view right there in a whole
Right.
as a whole. So for the slight edge, I'm gonna have to go with Adam Cole here. It was tough, but Adam Cole's debut was sick.
Nah,
You
yeah.
know, you couldn't
But
Fair,
go
fair
against it.
enough.
we will talk. We won't jump over the fact that WWF did drop the ball with Taz.
Oh yeah,
You
you talk
did
about that
have
all
him
the time.
debut and beat the undefeated dude, and then you did nothing with him. You put him in a tracksuit. That was crazy.
Do you want to go on
That
your
was
hot rant right now about that? Because I know you like to
nah.
have your own.
We're not even gonna do that. We don't got time for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get it. Next matchup. Sorry, we have Chris Jericho's WWF
God,
Raw
let's go.
debut going up against CM Punk's AEW 2021 Rampage debut. Let me start off with this one. I want to start off with this one because I put both of you in the hot seat
Okay.
before. I'm gonna go with Chris Jericho's. Um, the reason why I say Chris Jericho, although CM Punk's debut was technically a return, um, to wrestling, I feel like they hyped that up more than a debut. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
it's
Um,
still his debut in AEW,
yeah, but
so
like
it does count, Nick. Okay.
I know technically, yeah, but like if you check social media the entire like week or month, it was like, oh, it's CM Punk returning to
Yeah.
wrestling.
It was
That
more
was
of
the whole.
a. It was more of a. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
Same.
exactly. So to me, although it was a debut technically, but I didn't see it that way. Because like I said, a lot of fans said, hey,
Okay.
CM Punk's returning to wrestling. So I
Mhm.
saw it more as a return than a debut. And plus Chris Jericho's debut on WWF with the whole countdown and know that it was gonna be Jericho.
Mhm.
That's whole iconic in itself. So couldn't skip past Jericho on that one. Harleen, who do you got on this one? Chris Jericho or CM Punk?
Oh God, man. When I
I know
saw
this is a tough
when you sent
bracket.
me this bracket and I saw this, I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. Dude, all right. God damn it. So again, this is another situation where it's like I wasn't alive when I watched Chris Jericho like like debut in the WWF. Of course, I wasn't alive for that, but watching it back, it was like I feel like one of the most historic moments in wrestling history, of course, because we talk about it to this very day. Like that
Yeah.
Yeah.
is so iconic to the point where like he can go from like being a WCW guy that like be undeserving in these spots and shit, come to WWF and like go face to face with The Rock, the biggest freaking star that they have at that time, and can hold his own. I love Chris Jericho. Maybe not nowadays. He makes me a little sad sometimes when I watch his matches. I'll give him credit though. The Will Ospreay match was, but like besides from that, he still makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
But I love that debut. And for CM Punk, again, that's like another situation where it's like I love CM Punk back in the day. I love everything that he stood for, like straight edge. Anything comes to wrestling, like his mindset for it. Like I love that. That's why I was like a huge fan. I kind of have a little hatred for him now, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But that I guess you could say more so returned to pro wrestling because when he
Yeah.
was in WWE, he was more so in the sports entertainment world at that point. And then when he came to AEW, it was like a rebirth. And a lot of people, especially like the people like that are my friends who are pro wrestling fans, they say like that was like God came back to pro wrestling. Like the crowd,
Yeah.
people were crying in the damn crowd for it and everything like that. And it was just like so historic. But this one's really hard. This one's really hard.
Question though, I know we weren't going to talk
Yes.
about it, but do you guys? It's for both. Question for both of you. Do you guys think that the whole firing of CM Punk now like degrades that? I guess, or like doesn't really matter anymore? It's only been 2 years. Do you think that's like doesn't mean anything anymore as much as it was?
Like his return, or
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean? Did like devalues his return? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Nah, because
I
he
don't
did
know.
do a lot
It's just,
still.
it just
That
shows
is
more
true,
so him as a person at that point. Like,
Yeah.
I won't go into it too much. I'm trying to keep a
Yeah.
good phrase off.
So you chose Chris Jericho for CM Punk, or
Oh
Who you got?
God,
Who
I
you
don't know
got?
if
I
I
know.
can choose this one right now. I want Joel to pick Chris first. I don't know. I can't. I
Yeah,
can't do
Joel,
this.
give your
Yeah.
response first.
I'll
Give your
give you
response.
his.
Joel.
Jericho. It's Jericho.
Okay.
Jericho that's one of the greatest debuts ever for any company. With The Rock, the top star, that's who you were a cruiserweight guy. This is who you're debuting against? Yeah, Jericho. Come on.
Yeah, that was iconic.
And then you already picked at this point. This is going Jericho.
Yeah. He already won. I was gonna. But yeah, it was an iconic debut. I mean, I love CM Punk. That was a great return.
Great moment. Yeah, it was a
great moment. But it was
Jericho's just that was ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, next matchup, we got Bryan Danielson's AEW All Out debut in 2021, going up against Kane's WWF 1997 Bad Blood in Your House debut. Joel, you want to start this one off again? Who do you have? Who's the better debut in your opinion?
The easiest one on this list. It's Kane.
Ooh, okay.
That's gotta be Kane. Are you kidding me? We've never seen this man. They hyped it up for months.
Yeah.
Undertaker's brother was coming, and then we finally saw this guy. Bryan, cool, plays popped, everything was awesome. Kane is Kane, though. This was the first time we saw Kane.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And also an iconic one. Harleen, who do you have? Who's the better debut between Kane and Bryan Danielson?
I agree because again, it's another situation where I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive though.
Yeah.
But watching it back, watching
was
the
alive.
storyline with Kane and the Undertaker, I personally believe that that's probably like one of the best. Here we go. I'm using the word like kayfabe storylines. They could be like story wise, like fictional. They did it to a T. Like I feel like, regardless of what came afterwards, I feel like that is like one of the best storylines they ever done. Wasn't alive for it though, so I don't have the same type of like surprise factor of like you know what I mean, like this is like a big moment. Bryan, on the other hand, I watched that shit live, and that was incredible. And I found it more enjoyable, more like I guess you could say like the dopamine came to my brain when Bryan came back and like came to AEW because it was like this is where he belongs now because like he just came back from like a really bad injury where he thought he was going to retire for good. He came back. He was finally being able to wrestle people you would never even think he would ever wrestle because he was stuck in the WWE bubble. So I kind of gonna go with Bryan on this one. So I found more of like I don't know what the right wording is, but I feel like that was more so higher than the
A
Kane
more
stuff.
connect,
But
yeah,
I
like
guess
kind of
I was
connect. You
I
connected it more to, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like the Brian
mm,
coming out, because that was I remember when that happened. That was an amazing
mm,
moment when Brian came
Yeah.
out.
Because the thing
right,
is, like with Danielson's, it was like once Adam Cole came out before him, it was like, oh, okay, that's it.
That's
You
the
know, that's
surprise. Yeah, like we're
yeah.
not gonna do nothing
right.
else. That's it.
Then once Danielson came out, I was like, oh shit, this is
When that
actually
music hit,
yeah.
Real deal.
And
Mm-hmm.
then Kane's, I wasn't alive for then either, but it was like I know that led to a great story between Kane and Undertaker. For years of my childhood, I believed that they two were brothers, and a lot of people could say the same thing with that.
oh, most definitely.
Yes, exactly. So they made the story believable. That whole, like you said, Joel, with hyping it up for months that Kane was going to come out. Then eventually, when it was during that Hell in a Cell match, when Kane just walked right in and just made himself known, and I was again, I wasn't there, but watching it back on YouTube and stuff, like I
Yeah,
felt the connection from that,
yeah, me
knowing the
too.
story, then watching it back. So for that, I'm gonna have to go with Kane
Ooh,
because I
I'm
felt like that
surprised by
meant
that
more
one.
in
I thought he was
wrestling.
gonna pick Brian. Oh
I wanted
shit!
to. I'm not gonna lie, I
Surprise,
wanted
Nick.
to,
Wow.
but I felt like Kane's debut meant more in wrestling than Daniel Bryan's. Like, yeah, no one
Okay,
expected it to
okay.
happen.
If you look at, okay, got you,
Because
got
yeah,
you.
no one
Fair.
expected Danielson's to happen, but like
Yeah,
because that was like out of the bloom for some people. But Kane's, it was an iconic moment. It meant more to the business.
yeah. I like
So
that you just brought that up because I was gonna bring that up in the very next bracket that we have
okay,
because I wanted to know how
Mm.
you guys were gonna look at that one
okay, okay, yeah. But
because
I
you
know
know
what you
where
mean.
you see
Okay.
exactly the names that are right there
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
next one. Okay.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Kane here because I just felt like it meant more to the company than
Yeah.
Danielson's versus the AEW. I love the debut, but I felt like I said, it's just memorable and iconic. So now next round, AJ Styles WWE 2016 debut at the Royal Rumble, going up against the Shield's debut at Survivor Series in 2012. Harleen, I'm gonna start with you this time again.
Ochoa
Who was
wants to
the
make a
better
play. He's
debut?
putting his hand
Hold on,
out.
real quick question though. I need to know what you guys are thinking. Are you guys looking at this one specifically? Are you looking at the impact that it had, or the debut and the moment itself?
Hmm. Because I'm looking
Because like
to me the both.
when you brought up Kane and you were like it did more for the business, I said okay, this is the
Mm,
question I have for this one
Okay.
because
Because
this is
I
a
think
good
for
art.
me
You
for
have a
this
art. There's an argument for both of them, depending on how
right.
you look at it.
Because for me, the person I'm choosing is both, like impact and who had the actual
Okay,
greatest moment when it happened.
got you.
But yeah, that's how I'm looking at it.
Okay,
Harleen,
Yeah, I'm looking at more impact as well, but also emotionally, I guess,
got
because
yeah,
you.
like I
Okay.
yeah attach
Good
more so like
answers.
to
No, I just wanted
purpose.
to know
And,
how everybody was looking at it because
yeah.
that's the fun about the brackets. Everybody looks at it differently, and
Right.
exactly.
like because that's why some people look at it as what the long term was or what the moment was or did I fuck with it at the moment when it happened. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I just wanted to ask, especially with
Yeah,
this one specifically.
that's why I
sure.
always mentioned in the beginning that there's no right or wrong answer. You can literally
Yeah,
look at it wherever you
exactly.
want, way you want it to be.
All opinion.
Yeah. So Harleen, who had
Are
the
we
greatest,
picking?
better debut between the two?
Oh boy.
Your favorite, your
This
favorite.
one's.
My favorite. Oh jeez.
Let's go with that to
When
make it
AJ
easier.
Styles came out for the Rumble, that I feel like was the start of like people from like other companies finally coming into WWE. Like that's finally possible now. Like that's what that showed for me. Even though they kind of botched it, especially with the camera work. Like we had to look at damn Roman Reigns for like a good minute or two.
Yeah,
God
And
damn.
then
yeah,
he came out. I was like, who's coming out? Who's this like?
They fucked that up
Because
so
I didn't recognize
bad.
the thing.
yeah. I guess they wanted
Yeah,
Roman's reaction, but it was like,
right.
move
But he
away
was
now.
confused.
Yeah,
He was like, who's this guy? I've never seen that motherfucker. Just like,
yeah,
but but I was so like ecstatic when he came out as well because I was not necessarily a fan, but I was watching TNA at the time when he was around, and like going through those exhibition matches, and all the other stuff, and the shitty storylines that came before.
Yeah,
But that was like a big one for me, where it's like, oh shit, now he's finally in a place I feel like that will allow him to be respected as more of a champion and more like a like the main guy, give or take how you see it after the fact, but.
yeah.
For the Shield though, that I feel like was like a real iconic moment in wrestling where it's like we don't have like dominating tag teams going on at the time. And they came in and they like Lugasky and like freaking fucked up everybody.
Yeah.
What came for them after the fact, it took a little bit, but it helped them out for like the most part. But I'm gonna go with AJ Styles. I love the Shield, but I'm gonna go AJ Styles on this.
Okay. Joel, who had the better debut between the two?
She set
It's
it up.
tough, right?
Like
It's
the
tough.
shield, the shield was such a moment when it happened. But AJ Styles is AJ Styles. That was the indie guy. That was the guy that would never go to WWE. So to see him walk out the stage was just on another level. It was also kind of like a CM Punk thing where everyone was talking about it, but it was more like, yeah, but I'll believe it when I see it. So when he came out, it was just like, this is the real deal, and that's why I gotta go with AJ.
Same here. Like for me with the Shield, although it was pretty cool that they came out and just destroyed everybody in that match. The thing is though, like not a lot of people knew who they were when they came out.
Yeah,
So that was, I don't want to say a problem, but it was like, not a lot of people knew who they were, and they progressed over time with how they presented themselves. So when AJ came out, we already knew who he was, in this specific matchup. Like people
yeah,
knew who he was already. You know, we've seen him all over wrestling before, outside of WWE for years. Someone that we'd never expected to show up. We heard the buzz around his name, eventually making his appearance, but until we saw it, we didn't believe it, like the CM Punk thing.
yeah.
But when it happened, it just, again, it's one of those, especially within the past 10 years, one of the greatest debuts in WWE history. Um, all time or within the past 10, 15 years. So I'm going to have to go with AJ Styles as well. He already won it anyways. But again, if,
Landslide.
That's the goal right
yeah.
there, baby. That's what I'm
But
talking about.
again, like if when the Shield debuted, no one really knew who they were. It was like, okay,
Right.
let's see what they can do. But yeah, I'd have to go with AJ Styles. It's more memorable and more iconic. Now, next one. Jon Moxley's AEW debut at Double or Nothing 2019, going up against Brock Lesnar's WWF Raw debut in 2002. Now, this is for me a tough one. Who wants to start with this one off? So I don't want to answer this one. No one's gonna say it.
I think our guest should go first. I think
Our
that's
guest, okay. Harleen, he's putting you on the spot, Harleen.
Oh God! All right. Jeez. So Brock Lesnar is a beast of nature, you know.
Yeah,
yeah.
And when he came out, like I feel like that was probably like as like a big of a statement as like as you could as a big guy. You know what I mean? Like he came in, you didn't even know his name. You knew he was gonna come and fuck everybody up. I don't know if we're allowed to
yeah,
curse on the show. I'm sorry, I can't
yeah.
do it.
You can curse. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And that was cool and all, but like, well, I was like probably 2 years old when that happened. I just like, who the hell is this?
yeah,
Why is this happening? It didn't leave as much of an impact for me as Moxley in comparison. When Moxley came out, AEW was like like coming off of the like the roots, and they're about to like showcase like who they are, and then all of a sudden you get one of the biggest like freaking hottest freaking free agents out there right now,
yeah,
John freaking Moxley, and this was a guy who was just on Jericho's podcast not that long ago before this happened, talking about like when I was in WWE, I wasn't able to like be as creative as I wanted to be and like do the things that I want to do. Like I feel like I'm just getting beaten down and doing shitty storylines that he didn't want to be a part of, and it was like
yeah,
it would make it look like a joke. So when he came out and he had that explosion of a reaction, I feel like yes, now we're finally gonna get the Moxley that we're waiting for. Like he's gonna finally have the matches that we want to see. He's gonna finally be able to do the things we want to do, and that's the reason why I love that debut over Lesnar.
yeah. I agree with you because I'm gonna say John Moxley too because he's someone. Obviously, it was the first WWE star to go to AEW. Like, yeah, we had Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, but he was signed when AEW became a thing. Then once he got let go, he went to AEW, and I think that changed the landscape. But like, oh, now WWE people can go to AEW and not make it a big. Well, I wouldn't say that, but like, he set the standard for that, I guess, if that makes sense.
He was the first one to do it.
Exactly.
No one ever thought someone would jump from the big ship to this little new company. So when one
Exactly.
of your big stars did it, that's a statement for the other company.
Exactly. So
That
that
was a
was a
statement
big
for
impact
Mox.
towards that company in the wrestling business to where now people from WWE who get let go can say, hey, now we have another option to go to. if we get let go from our job.
1,000%.
Yeah, there's Impact, New Japan, but there's also another big company that's
Mhm.
ran by Tony Khan and his family, with their history and owning the Jaguars and stuff like that. So I think that made a large impact in the wrestling business in terms of trying to transition from one company to another. So I got John Moxley. Joel, who do you have?
Y'all said it all. Mox. I love Brock. Brock is my guy, but that debut, it was cool for what it was. It wasn't a moment like Mox showing
Mhm.
up.
Yeah, that meant a lot. That meant a lot. So now, next matchup, we have the Undertaker's WWF
Mhm.
debut in 1990, going up against Finn Balor's NXT debut in 2014. Joel, do you want to start this one off? I
You
gotta put
already know
somebody
my
on the spot
answer.
here. We
You
gotta do
already know my
something.
answer.
I can't keep.
We're sweating enough over here. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
Get the
ahead.
pressure off our shoulders.
I got I got Taker.
Okay.
Taker just because Taker, that's my guy. Grew up watching Taker. That was my number one guy. I gotta put Taker debut, man. But Ted DiBiase, come on.
Yeah.
Wasn't there for it. Wish I was though, because that dude was wilding back then.
Yeah.
That was when he was scary as shit.
Yeah, that was
But
true.
yeah, I gotta give it to Taker.
Harleen, who do you have? Who had the better debut in your opinion?
You're gonna be surprised on this one because even though I wasn't around to watch Undertaker come out and be as spooky as he is, I'm gonna go with the Undertaker on this one. Only because it's
Ooh,
historic. Finn Balor, I love him. I love the fact that he came to WWE at the time that he did. I feel like there would have been a bigger reaction if he came as a demon.
yeah,
For me,
Yeah.
him as just Finn Balor with a leather jacket wasn't enough for me. Sure, he's still
Yeah.
cool. Sure, I was a humongous fan from then on as well, and before that. But it doesn't compare to the Undertaker. That's just
yeah,
historic. That was part of that was a moment. And even if the match wasn't, a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer, it doesn't matter. He came out,
facts.
and that's who we saw coming from like the next couple decades after the fact.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
Taker,
I
that
that
mean,
is that.
motivated it
Taker.
all.
Yeah, I mean, Taker already won, so he's moving on to the next round, anyways. But I'm just gonna choose Finn Balor because
Boo,
I
nah,
feel
fuck with
like
you.
no, I say Finn Balor is because I think he changed like the landscape of NXT at that time. Because yeah, you had Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn already there, but then you had Finn Balor who changed like, oh, anybody can come now to NXT.
He
You
broke that
had the top
international
guy of
barrier.
Japan
Yeah,
who was the leader of the Bullet Club. Then after that, you had more people coming in like Samoa Joe, Shinsuke, a whole bunch of people after him that came through. Say now this is a more global thing than just some people they're trying to build up from like nothing. Now anybody can come through, build their names there, make to the main roster. And I think that changed the landscape for me for NXT. So I loved Undertaker's debut because if you watch that back when he came out, all eyes were on him. You know,
yeah.
so like literally all eyes probably were just looking at him like, who the hell is this guy who just walked through the ring with like a purple hat or whatever. So it's weird, but like not weird in that way, but you know what I mean. But like,
He
I think
captivated
Finn
people. It
Balor's
was
debut
just
meant
crazy.
more.
Still real, I
Yeah,
guess. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. Because like
yeah.
that time they were more driven on character, and that character was scary. And we'll get that to a different bracket next month. But I don't know. I just got to go with Finn Balor with how he changed. I feel like he changed, in my opinion, the landscape of going to NXT at that time. So
That
I
is
got to
very
give it to
true.
him.
That is very true because we might not have NXT UK if it wasn't for Balor signing and being that first international guy.
Exactly.
Fair,
Exactly. So
fair
he
points.
impacted that company.
Good point, Nick.
So next matchup, the last matchup in the first round, we got the Nexus debut on Raw in 2010 going against Claudio Castagnoli's AEW debut at Forbidden Door
Said that
last year.
clean. Said that clean.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
damn.
lie.
And I always butcher his name, Claudio
Nah, you said it
Castagnoli.
clean. Good
I
job.
know.
Claudio, yes, the noteless.
Because he pronounces his name like Castagnoli. Like you hear the
I
I don't
just
know.
say Claudio. I
So
wasn't
your
even gonna
cannoli,
I
try
know.
like
it.
one of those
Yeah.
I
desserts,
wasn't
like.
even gonna try
It was practice. It was practice.
it.
Um I'll start off with this one, I guess. You guys started the rest of them off.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Nexus debut because
Ooh.
at that time, with the whole NXT rookies and pros thing, the whole concept was like, oh, there's only one winner. That's the breakout star, I think they called it. But
Yeah.
then you wouldn't expect like anybody else to show up afterwards. So that night that they debuted and tagged literally everybody, including Justin Roberts, this is like they made a statement. That's a statement. You know what I mean? In comparison to the Shield debut, I'm not saying it's better than that one. I'm saying like people knew who they were already. In this case, it was a faction that made their statement saying, "Hey, we're the young guys here, want to make our names known," and then they did. It's one of the most talked about debuts within the past like 15 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
their follow up afterwards wasn't the best. Like they could have done better with the Nexus, but it's a whole other story. But their debut itself that happened on Raw, that's one of my favorites of all time. So I go with the Nexus with this one. Joel, who do you got? Something over to you.
I agree with you. I agree. It's Nexus. But I do think they're over the Shields debut. Like if they were in the bracket together, it would be Nexus, only because of who they were attacking and what it meant. They went
Yeah,
after the top door. Like Shield, yeah, they attacked Ryback, but he was going after the belt at that time. You know what I mean? But for the Nexus to come out and do what they did and leave John Cena in the middle of the ring, that said a lot, and that was very impressive. That's why I gotta go with the Nexus.
very true. Harleen, who do you have?
Ah, so I'm gonna pick the Nexus, but let me give my flowers to Claudio real quick for this moment.
Yeah,
Claudio, I probably like besides from Brian, my favorite modern day wrestler of all time. Like I love him. Like I study him. I wish I could be trained by him. Like he is the man that I want to embody, but as a women's wrestler. Uh, I just want to put that out there. The debut itself at AEW, I feel like the internet kind of because like he was like gone from WWE at this point, and people were just waiting and waiting and waiting when he will show up because they knew he was going to show up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel like that kind of just like diminished it a little bit for me because I was just waiting for it to happen at this point. Like, it's not really like a surprise anymore, you know. And it was cool when he finally came. I was like, think it was more like a finally moment, like
yeah,
finally, but not as shocking as I would have wanted it to be.
yeah,
The Nexus, on the other hand, I watched that shit live, and that was during a time where WWE was in that PG era that like was I'll
it was
say a dog
stale.
shit.
It was a little stale.
yeah, yeah,
It was
Yeah,
absolute
yeah,
dog shit. And when they came out and they attacked John Cena and they threw around the ring and they broke everything and they freaking for Christ's sake Brian got fired. He was choking out Justin Roberts for
yeah,
Christ's sake.
yeah,
All that stuff. You've never seen that before in that at least in that era. In that era that was occurring, that was so out there and so surreal and so like unexpected that it made it so cool. And well, it's another opinion, whatever happened after the fact. I can, you know, talk my heart out about it and like so I'm blue in the face how pissed off I would be after the fact. But
yeah.
that moment itself
I feel you.
showcased who they are and what could have been. And so that's why I picked the Nexus.
Yeah, and to
That was it.
bounce off the Claudio part, it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. He wasn't the original person to be in that match. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be
Right.
Danielson, but he got injured. So shout out to him for
Right.
filling that spot too, because that's a big spot to fill at a Forbidden Door pay per view, the first
Yeah,
one,
but
and you have to jump right in.
I feel like once
Mhm.
they announced it though, everybody was like, "It's got to be Claudio, right? Like it's got to be
Yeah.
Yeah,
Claudio."
yeah, that is true. That is true. Now we're heading to the second round. The
Cole,
first round and the second
whoa,
round, the first matchup in the second round, we got both Adam Cole's debut NXT in 2017 and AEW's debut in 2021. Who wants to start this one off? Who wants to start this one off? Because this is a tough one for me. I gotta think about this clearly.
uh,
I don't know.
Joel,
I
I want you,
know that.
Joel. Joel, I got, yeah,
Okay,
I got you.
damn, I'm gonna.
It's tough, right?
Yo, it's
It's
so
tough.
tough, so tough. Cause I want to be biased and pick NXT, but then the AEW one was so like surprising because he was just on TV. It was like, there's no shot
Yeah,
he's coming out now. They'll probably wait till. I remember I told you I was like, he'll probably come out like a Grand Slam. Damn. I'm gonna go with Adam Cole NXT. I'm gonna go with the
okay.
NXT one. Think it was more. It was bigger. It was a bigger moment. The 21 one is cool, but it's also with Brian, so he kind of gets overshadowed. Like if you think about it, a lot of people just talk about Brian coming out. Like Cole was cool, but Brian was the one everybody was waiting for.
Yeah,
But at 17 when he came out and I think it was McIntyre that was champ at the time. That was like him putting his stamp on, like attacking the big dog. This is where it's at. You know what I mean? Like, I'm new guy. I'm here to take over, and it was the start of the Undisputed Era.
And no pun intended with the takeover because it was a takeover.
It was a takeover, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, and just after that, it was the Adam Cole years. I always
that
say
is
that.
true.
During that NXT phase, cool with DIY, Gargano was in. That was the Adam Cole era. That era was different. So I gotta give him that. I gotta give him the NXT debut.
That
Meant
is
more.
true. That is true. Harleen, who do you have? The AEW in 2021 or the NXT?
I'm gonna go with the NXT ones, only
Ah,
because it was a bigger moment. It was more he came out and he attacked. You know what I mean? The other one he
yeah,
kind of just walked out and like Joel said, he got overshadowed. Everyone was waiting for
Yeah.
Brian to come out. And also he also came out of the crowd. If I'm
yeah.
mistaken, like
Yes.
I feel like the surprise returns are more better when they come out of the crowd because I feel like that's a personal attack. Like they're coming out, they're gonna come beat your ass.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
NXT.
That is true.
NXT all the way.
I mean, that one already won, but I'm gonna have to go with AEW, the AEW debut,
Okay.
because for me, that one I was out of my seat the entire time, even before Danielson came out. So,
That is true.
and we went. I think you and I, Joel, went live immediately after,
Yes.
and I was like speechless when that
And
happened.
we were hype about it, but I was also tight because I'm gonna give him his flowers on here. Shout out my man Christian. Man invented All Out and it got overshadowed by Brian and Cole. Yo, Christian put on a fucking match against Omega. Shout out Christian, man.
Yeah,
Just gotta show him his love, man.
yeah. But for me, like again, the AEW one just really was the better reaction towards it with the crowd as well.
Yeah.
Because again, Joel, he like you said, he was on TV literally like the week before,
Yeah.
so no one was expecting him to come out that soon. So it was like completely like, wow, this actually happened and happened right at the end of All Out. So
Yeah.
that meant more. I feel like, yeah, I agree with both of you with the NXT one where like he ran through NXT after that, and that meant a lot. That really pushed his career. But without I think the All Out one was like it was special. It was
Yeah.
special in my opinion. I can't really put it to words, but I felt like that was more special between the two. So I have to go with the All Out, but the NXT one already moves on to the next round. Now this next matchup is a tough one. God damn. Chris Jericho's WWF debut on Raw in 1999 versus Kane's Bad Blood debut in '97. Who wants to get this one off? Who wants to get this one off?
Fuck,
'Cause I don't-
man. Nick, kick it off, man.
Okay, fine. Put me in the hot seat right now. All right, so I'm gonna go with Kane. I'm just gonna go with Kane. I love Jericho's debut, but I feel like again, someone who wasn't really. I was born for the Chris Jericho one, but I was like not even 1 year old, so wouldn't remember that one anyways. But watching both of them back and to see which one meant more, I think Kane's gave me a bigger not a reaction. I think it gave me goosebumps a little bit, just knowing the history of it.
Yeah.
Because with Chris Jericho's the whole the countdown thing, you knew it was him. So when Kane came out and Paul Bearer brought him out, like, oh shit, this is Kane. And then it gave everyone like a reaction, kind of like Undertaker's debut. Like, who the hell is this guy? All eyes were on him. It took the attention off of the match. So I feel like Kane's was more important and more iconic between the two. Who wants to go next? Who wants to? Joel. Fine, Harleen. Let's go, Harleen.
Nah. I'll go. We'll put Harleen in the hot seat because I'm gonna go with Jericho.
Ooh.
On
Why
the
Jericho?
Rock, man, that was the start of the run of the GOAT. You know what I mean? That company actually took him seriously. And they showed it from day one, putting him against the Rock, and then he fucking killed that promo. It was such a legendary moment. Come on, if anybody ever mentions a countdown in wrestling, people talk about Jericho.
Yeah, but when you associate fire, you think of Kane, right?
That is true.
It's the same thing.
He also tried to light a couple people on fire, so I don't know if that's like the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yo, let's take it easy. Let's take
Yeah.
it easy. I remember he tried to burn Jim Ross when I was younger. I was like, yo, take it easy.
Oh yeah,
bro.
did I? Oh god.
I couldn't sleep that night. I was terrified. Crazy.
Yeah. That's when he was handcuffed, right? And he walked on the ramp.
That's when he was wilding out after he took off his mask.
Yeah.
Fucking guy, man.
Harleen,
Oh, God.
tiebreaker. You're in the hot seat right now. Who had the better debut between Jericho in '99 and Kane in '97?
I'm gonna go with Jericho.
Oof.
It's a personal opinion because it has nothing to do with like if I was around for it or not or whatever. I
Yeah.
was more invested in the Jericho one because that's the one I feel like watching it back I remember the most. Like I'm a geek, so I read all Jericho's books and I read like the story leading up to it and the fact that he just was going to the damn freaking post office and he saw on the damn clock for the Y2K.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the whole just lead up to it, it was more inspirational for me on a personal level. And I watch it back, so like, I get emotional about it. And like the Christ sake, why are you crying over a debut? I don't care. It's Chris Jericho. So that's why I pick it.
Yeah.
Kane. He's so cool. I love Kane. I love his older theme, but you know.
Yeah.
Nah, yeah.
That is true. That is true. Because you're looking at it from a wrestling standpoint. Because you're looking at it as like, what can I? You know what I mean? As an actual wrestler standpoint. So that's pretty cool. Now next matchup we have is AJ Styles' 2016 Rumble debut going up against Jon Moxley's Double or Nothing debut in 2019. Joel, do you want to start this one off too?
I guess so, right? I guess so.
Yeah.
Style 16, Moxley 19. I'm gonna say Mox. Surprisingly, I was gonna say AJ, but I think Mox was more surprising for me. There was like rumblings, but there's always rumblings on the fucking. I hate the internet so much. I feel because they fuck up the moments. You know what I mean? Like, but AJ was more like rumors. Maybe he'll show up. Mox, I think I read like one thing. I was like, he's not doing it. He's not showing up. And then when he actually showed up, it was such a big moment. And like we talked about earlier, it started that look that was like, oh, okay, not only is WWE going to try to take people from AEW, but WWE guys are going to AEW. Oh shit, okay, and one of the top guys. Wow, okay, that's a big move. So I think it was such just a bigger moment overall. Even though AJ did like introduce like the indie guy into the main roster, Mox's debut just meant a lot more.
Yeah, that is true. Harleen, in your opinion, who had the better debut?
I'm gonna pick Moxley only because they ruined the AJ one for you. Just that little botch, just that little camera angle botch. Just
Yeah.
it's
It's
if
kinda like
someone asked me about it, like, hey, relive the moment of when AJ came out, the first thing I see in my brain is goddamn Roman Reigns' confused
Like
face.
confused.
So,
Yeah, it's like
bent
it's like
over in the
squinting,
room,
like looking at the thing. It's like
yeah. So like it was a humongous moment for AJ Styles to come out there, and it like revolutionized what it may be for WWE taking all these indie guys, of course, like you just said. But you can't just listen
yeah,
to that crowd though. Just listen how he came. Look how he came out. Look how like he came out there urgent. He came out there with that purpose. So like that's why I picked Moxley over AJ. Sorry, AJ.
yeah. I mean, I'm always the odd man out because I'm choosing AJ. Because the only reason I say AJ is because for his debut left me speechless, and in a good way, obviously.
Yeah.
And for me to be speechless, it takes a lot. So that's why I kind of expected Moxley to show up in AEW, although it was a cool moment and it changed the business. Um, we seen the teasers for that one. I think he put out a teaser as soon as his contract expired with WWE, and there were clues stating that he was going to go there. Apparently, so that kind of spoiled it a little bit for me. But for AJ's, it meant more, and it, like I said, it made me speechless, and it takes a lot to do that for me. So I'm going to go AJ, even though Moxley already won. Not mad at the pick, but I just love AJ, man. I just love AJ. He's one of my guys. So I have to go with him. Now, last matchup in the second round, we got Undertaker's 1990 debut at Survivor Series going up against the Nexus's WWE debut in 2010. Harleen, we're going to start with you this time. Who had the better debut, in your opinion?
Goddamn.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder as you go on.
Maybe it's the fact that I just love violence, but I'm gonna go with the Nexus on this one. Undertaker is historic as it may be. I will always praise it. I will always admire that character, but it was nothing like how the Nexus came out. And they could have done so much with that. And I'll be bitter till the day I die about it.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm just
Mhm.
upset at how they treated them, but it's a whole other
Yeah.
story. Joel, who had the better debut in your opinion, Undertaker or the Nexus?
Nexus. That's coming from a Taker guy. That was just a moment, like I said earlier, like them just attacking everybody ringside, leaving John Cena in the middle of the ring, tearing up the ring. It was just a scene no one's ever seen before.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Nexus too. I thought I was gonna be the only one, but I want to go with Nexus and the clean sweep Takers. Although Takers was more iconic, um,
It was just a Nexus was just crazy. It was
exactly,
chaos.
exactly. I thought Undertaker was gonna go in the finals, but I guess not. But yeah, I like the
Ruined
Nexus's debut.
Oh no.
Now we got the final four. Adam Cole's NXT 2017 debut
it.
against Chris Jericho's 1999 debut. I'll kick this one off. This one's easy for me. I'm gonna go with Chris Jericho because that one,
Mhm.
I think, like I said in the other rounds, this one changed the business more. Um, with although we knew who he was with the clock thing, countdown, it just that one was the more talked about debut in wrestling history. Um, I love Adam Cole. That moment was special. That changed his career around. But joining WWF for Jericho was also life changing for him. Without that debut and how memorable it was, think I don't want to say that made Jericho, but you know he had a great debut to bounce off his career with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
It solidified that they were going to take him serious.
exactly,
That's why it should have.
exactly. They showed that they had high hopes for
Yeah.
him from the start.
Exactly.
So to make it that big to go up against The Rock out of all people, they showed they had trust in him. So I'm gonna go with Jericho on that one. Harleen, who do you have with a better debut in your opinion, Adam Cole or Chris Jericho?
See, I'm gonna ruin it now. Uh, I'm gonna go with Jericho. It's just I'm looking at it more so of what also came after the fact. Yes, like Undisputed Era, phenomenal as it may be, what they did with them, but after a certain point, I personally felt like it got stale before he left.
Yeah.
So, in comparison to Jericho, where he went on to be undisputed champion and all of, like the different like career moments that he had, even like his match with freaking for Christ's sake, Shawn Michaels of all people at WrestleMania 19, like just those little like that's the things I remember. From that, it is skyrocketed from boom, 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 all these highlights. Adam Cole, I love him. He's probably one of the best wrestlers, of all time. But nothing beats Jericho. Nothing beats how he came out and how he made that presence known, how he made that impact known. Even it kind of goes against what I said earlier about violence and coming out here,
Yeah,
but it's just I don't know. It's more so like I've always been a Chris Jericho market, and I always will be, even if he makes me sad nowadays. But
and I
Jericho
think
all the way.
his
Yeah.
you can also say the same thing about his AEW debut. It's like that one, even though it was technically the press conference, that was
Mhm.
his debut, but it was still the first episode of Dynamite. I guess was also special with the whole inner circle thing, how iconic that group was for AEW. But I think everything Jericho does now is like made of gold. He perfects everything. But Joel,
Mhm.
who do you think had the better debut between the two?
Jericho. You guys said it all. Like, just that moment, man. And like you said, what came after, just even in just the next 2 years, 3 years when he was undisputed champion, like that doesn't happen.
And
Mhm.
he won it quickly. It was like 3 years, right? He said
Yeah.
Mhm.
that was pretty soon
And
for a debut.
he was supposed to be in the main event at 2000, Mania 2000. So it was gonna be less than a year. He was gonna be a big deal, but then they pulled him from it. Man, shout out Jericho. What the fuck,
Exactly.
this
Shout
guy?
out Jericho. Now, second round in the semifinals, John Moxley, AEW's 2019 debut, and the Nexus in WWE in 2010. Who wants to start off this one? Unless,
I'll kick it off. I'll
okay,
kick it off. Mox. I'm gonna go with Mox. Just because of
okay,
everything I've said before, like it changing the look on AEW and people being like, "Oh wow, somebody's going over there for a change."
yeah,
I think that was a big moment, especially for him when everybody thought the Shield was like the pillar of WWE for him to leave and show up in the rival company. Because when he left, I personally didn't think he was gonna wrestle again. I was like, he's done. He's just gonna chill at home, maybe write a book, do something. You know what I mean? Like do something else. So when he came back, that was when he debuted, that was such a big moment.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna go next because I want to put Harleen in the hot seat real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Ah,
go.
damn.
I, I'm gonna go with the
No,
Nexus
worse.
because
Goddamn.
I'm gonna go with the Nexus because I love that debut. I loved Moxley, and I do stand by what I said in the past rounds, how his debut changed the company and the business at that time. But the Nexus debut caught me off guard with how everyone from that season of NXT came out at the same time, how they destroyed everything. They went far and beyond to attack, like we said, Justin Roberts. Um, and everyone. I think they attacked the ring announcers, the commentators, everyone that was in sight. They attacked and they ruined the entire ring and went straight for the top guy. You could say the same thing from Mox because he attacked Omega, but for them all to do that at once and to um, you know everything afterwards, like I said, is a different story. We could talk about that at a different time, but for at that moment to start a group and to something that I did not see coming at that time really changed my. I thought that was a better debut in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go with the Nexus. Harleen, buzzer beater, tiebreaker.
Uh
Who
oh.
do you have? Better debut.
Oh, jeez. All right. So I love these two surprise freaking debuts individually. I already expressed my opinions on both of them, but on a personal, emotional level, I'm gonna go with Moxley because if it wasn't for that, the way that he came out, sure AEW would have went on to be, a rival company as it may be or whatever how you even want to see it, but I think that is one of the last like nails in the coffin to be like, okay, we're here. We are gonna be, if not the second best company, the best company in pro wrestling right now. And if without that debut, I don't think AEW would have had like the momentum and the spark that it then had after that point. So that's why I'm gonna go with Moxley.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought I chose a Nexus, but I do agree at that point
I
because
agree
that
with
did
that.
change. I think that made AEW a threat to WWE. So I do agree with that one. Now the finals. Chris Jericho's debut
God.
in WWF 1999 on Raw versus John Moxley's Double or Nothing debut for AEW in 2019. So I'm going to start this one off just to get it rolling. I'm going to go with Chris Jericho's WWF debut because of how I pretty much said everything in the previous rounds. I don't think there's nothing else for me to say with it. I love Moxley, and I agree with everything that I said in the past rounds with how he changed the wrestling business by going to AEW. But Chris Jericho's is more iconic, so I'm just gonna go with his. Um, Joel, I'm gonna go with. Oh, Harleen, I'm gonna go with you because I think I don't want to put you in
Oh,
the
wait.
hot seat again. So,
Ah! All
Harleen,
right, all right. Jeez Louise, here, I already ruined it. Mm, I feel like this just like debunks everything I just said about Moxley though. But like but I feel like I'm just gonna go on a personal level here because of what the significance of the debut was for me. I am gonna go with Chris Jericho because those are it is the one debut that like it's a lot of things inspire me in wrestling and I there's a lot of things I love about wrestling and something about the way he came out and the way that he spoke his mind, the way that he presented himself is everything that I feel like a superstar should be. So this is what on a personal level, opinion wise, you know, I'm not even looking at it in a historical sense at this point. Like it's just
yeah,
Chris Jericho's debut is probably one of the best of all time. So I'm gonna go with this.
Joel. We already know the winner is, but Joel, who do you have?
It's the greatest debut of all time, Chris Jericho. You kidding
Yeah,
me? Come on.
yeah,
I
that
love
is true.
Mox, but nothing beats Jericho's debut. Kane close, but Jericho I think is the best debut in pro wrestling.
And we decided that already. I mean, it is true. I mean, everything we all said was true about Jericho's that changed. I think one of the most iconic ones. But yeah, Jericho won the bracket of
Yeah,
greatest
this was a
debut.
tough ass bracket.
Dang,
I
that was
know,
tough. What the hell?
I know.
Jesus.
Like there were so many times I didn't want to be the first one. I'm like, oh God, who do I choose? Like, who do I start
That's
going
why
first?
I wasn't raising no hand. I
You
was like,
put these
oh
together,
man.
man.
Yeah, yeah. I
Jeez.
randomized it technically. I
All
randomized
right.
it, so I didn't choose it
Jesus
because I
Christ.
wanted to be fair.
Yeah, that's what fucks us over. He just puts in a generator, and then whatever
Yeah,
we get, we just go
Mm,
at it.
yeah. Because I
the
don't. Because
robot
if
don't know.
for me, I would put like because I didn't want to be biased and like just choose a specific matchup because I would already know who would get out in the first round. I'll just randomize it every time to be fair for all of us. But yeah, Chris Jericho, between the three of us, it had the greatest wrestling debut of all time. Harleen, thank you for joining us. Thank you for choosing the topic. And the
Thank you for
participants.
having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Before we go, can you please plug in your information where people can find you, where they can see your upcoming matches, and so on and so forth?
Awesome. All right. So on Twitter, I am Harleen X Lopez. I know there's like an underscore there at the end somewhere. Instagram, I am under Jazz20 Soda with the underscore, not my real name. And everywhere else on Facebook and so forth is Harleen Lopez. I'm going to be in Vermont this weekend, which is going to be pretty sweet. Which is, as it may be, is a fucking travel, as it. But I do want to promote. Hopefully I don't know when this is going to come out, but there is an event coming up on September 16th. It is Steel Stacks that is going to be taking place under the Alvac promotion, and that's probably one of the biggest shows that they're going to have. And most likely I'll be on it, most likely not, maybe, but I want to promote that show in particular because that's probably the biggest show they're going to have. They're going to have some big stars on that card, and I don't know. Hopefully this is out before then because I just wanted to point that out. If not, watch the replay.
Yeah, where can they watch the replay of that one? Where can they watch it? Is it on like? Where is it on? Like, is it on the IWTV?
It's going to be on IWTV.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So they can definitely watch it on IWTV. So thank you again, Harleen. Make sure you go follow her and watch all our upcoming matches. Again, this is episode 9 of the Fanatic Brackets. Nick and Joel, and we'll see you guys next time.
Gotcha.